Hi, I'm Laura Hahn Segundo Collins,
And I'm Joy Han Silva Melora.
and welcome to Hahnacity.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Joya. How's it going? Cute haircut, by the way.
Thank you.
Very
Had to,
nice.
yeah, it's a lot lighter to say the least, and my hair doesn't get caught in things.
What do you mean,
Um,
cotton things?
because when your hair gets really long and you like sleep and then you kind of
Oh,
like
yeah, and it
get one of
wraps around your
those.
neck. That's what mine does
Yeah,
too.
or like Marvin will like have his arm around me and then his arm gets stuck. I think he tore some hair like somewhere. I have like a weird spot over here,
Bald
but
patch.
yeah,
I
but
love bald patch because
mhm.
you were being cuddled.
Yeah. Not a bad thing. I don't mind
Aw,
it.
that's nice. That's
At least
really
it's
nice.
like in a hidden spot. It's like somewhere back in
Mm-hmm.
the head. But how are you
It's
doing?
nice. Good, good. We're here. We're present.
Mm-hmm.
And school is starting next week, so I'm very excited about that.
Woo woo! It's the best
I'm
day for
sure I speak
parents.
for all parents and guardians right now who cannot wait for school to start. Actually, my kids are pretty awesome. As we speak, they are currently at their old elementary school doing volunteering.
Oh,
They're helping with like packing the folders and doing stuff. So it's my kids and then my friend's kid for sure. It was actually her idea. And I thought that was
that's very
really
sweet.
great way to give back to an elementary school that just gave us so much love. Super shout out to PS11 in Brooklyn. Has been our family for 11 years. So
Amazing.
we are
That's so
really
cool.
always, ever, ever. And super shout out to Mr. Rand, Miss Hope, Mrs. Rand. Mr. Rand is the coach of the basketball team who's meant so much to so many for sure. But this past year, my kiddo and his team, they won the championship for elementary school, first time in their school's history. So
That's awesome.
it was really, really awesome. And Mr. Rand deserves it. And those kids deserve it. So, we're always going to be a
Congratulations.
special space in our heart for
Yeah,
PS11
that's
for
amazing.
sure.
What a great way to give back to your school and
Yeah.
awesome kids and awesome
Yeah.
parents. You guys
Yeah.
are phenomenal.
Sure.
And I think I'm going to be
Thanks.
there for the unveiling of their banner.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm heading
Yes,
to New
absolutely.
York in a few weeks and I'll get to see the
Yep.
banner. Woo
Yep.
woo!
Nathan is has put in the order for the plaque, and then another dad has put in the order for the banner, and then they're going to have an unveiling of it, I think on September 13th when you arrive.
That's awesome. I'm
So I'll
excited
keep you
for
all
that because
posted.
I've gotten to see a couple of the games and they're talented
Yeah.
athletes.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to season 4.
Welcome to season 4,
Oh,
everyone. And speaking of really great athletes, we have a great guest today.
we do. We have Andrew Rohrbach, who is a phenomenal athlete that we just met, like literally maybe a month ago.
How did you
And
meet him, Joy, by the way?
so it's kind of crazy. My boss had this event at her house that was really about team bonding for all the coaches, and he was one of the servers there. And
Amazing.
just so happened we're a private gymnastics club, and he has this sports psychology background, and he's starting this mental health program with athletes of all ages. And he does these amazing programs with private clubs and also schools. And so he just started talking to my boss, and my boss was like, I need to connect you with Joy. And we had this Zoom call. And then I was like, oh my gosh, you have to talk to my cousin because you guys, you know, have the same heart for athletes and mental health. And it was just rock star. So he's our guest, and we should read his bio. But Andrew Rohrbach is a former professional baseball player who was drafted in the ninth round by the Colorado Rockies. After his playing career, Andrew went back to school and earned his master's degree in sports psychology at Long Beach State. During that time, Andrew had a chance to work with Division I athletes across different sports, which really showed Andrew how much mental performance can impact the way athletes show up and compete. Andrew runs Motive Mental Performance, where he works with athletes and teams on building confidence, handling pressure, and learning how to stay grounded in the middle of tough moments. A big part of Andrew's work is also helping athletes navigate identity and transition, since he knows firsthand how difficult it can be to step away from a sport you have dedicated your whole life to. Andrew's approach is all about keeping things practical and athlete centered, using simple tools and routines that athletes can actually use when they are on the field or court, not just concepts that sound good in theory. At the end of the day, Andrew wants to help athletes perform at the best while also feeling good about who they are outside of sport. Without further ado, here is Andrew. Hi, Andrew. How's it going?
That's good.
Welcome.
Thank you. How are you guys?
We're good.
So
Welcome to
good.
Hahnacity. We're just so grateful that you are on the show and you have such an insight on so many different things with your background. I would love to just chat with you in starting at the beginning of your story. You were a professional baseball athlete, but how did you get into your sport? What were things that you loved about your sport? And then how did it lead you to this route of sports psychology?
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. No. Well, one, thanks so much for having me on. I love doing these things, and normally I'm on the other side where I ask the questions. So brace with me if I struggle to talk so much, but I might be good at it. So I grew up in Simi Valley, California, so not too far away from like LA area. And both my parents are former law enforcement. I lived in a sport household. I was at either baseball or football practice my entire life. I just grew up doing it. I was a really emotional kid. I guess I still am an emotional man, I guess. I used to cry all the time when I'd strike out. I'd cry. I'd cry about everything, pretty much. Yeah, just all the stuff. And my parents were, like I said, law enforcement, and they really just were the best parents. They just really cared about me and what I wanted. And we used to go to Dodger Stadium, and I just sit there and look at the grass, and I just wanted to be on the grass more than anything. I just loved the way that the grass looked. So my dad and I, as well as my mom, like knew from a my early ages of adolescence is, wow, like I want to be a professional baseball player. That's all I care about doing. And yeah, I grew up, went to high school. I was always a pretty good athlete, but I went to high school and I don't know, I just had bad coaching. I just had coaches that didn't really support me in the way that I needed to be supported, which is,
Mm.
I think, kind of the beginning of my story. I always had pretty good coaches growing up, and dealing with my emotions was always like a tough thing with coaches. But when I got to high school, it was really tough for me. The coach that I had in baseball specifically just never tried to meet me where I was at, never tried to look at me like as a person first. They always looked at me as, oh, this is the kid that cries and gets upset and frustrated about
Oh
things.
man.
And yeah, it was tough. It was really tough for me. So I ended up going to a junior college out of high school. I didn't have any offers for any baseball. I went to college in Santa Clarita called Valencia, or called College of the Canyons. And again, I had like a tough experience there as well. I got injured and I tore my UCL, so I had that infamous Tommy John surgery. And it was kind of interesting, I was a shortstop my whole life. I really struggled to hit, and I just had a hard time with it. And when I got on the mound for the first time, I was throwing pretty hard, and I left that practice at my junior college with a letter from the Houston Astros scout that was watching me throw. And
Wow.
I just
Wow.
came from, 4 or 5 years of just really tough experiences with sport to coming home. And then I lived with my dad at that time. And I go, hey, I got a letter from the Houston Astros scout. And he was like, what? Like, for what? Like, what? Just not like in a bad way, like, oh,
Right.
you're not good enough for that. But it was a crazy, like, intense week of like, oh wow, Andrew, like they see that you could like potentially play professional baseball. Like that's what you've always wanted to do. A week later, I ended up tearing my elbow and get that Tommy
Oh
John
my gosh.
surgery.
Oh
Oh,
man.
jeez.
Yeah.
Brutal.
So it was
Brutal.
like kind of like this up and down in a way, but that was the best thing that ever happened to me was getting injured. I met some of the best mentors I've ever had in my life, from a chiropractor, physical therapist who really like believed in me and pushed me and wanted me in every single day. And I'd never been pushed that way. I'd never been like met at that emotional way from, he'd listen to me. He'd care about what I wanted. And we'd find like tactical approaches on getting better and recovering from this major surgery. And then I met a couple coaches, and all of a sudden I just realized, wow, like the support system's like incredible. And I ended up getting a scholarship to Long Beach State and played there
Awesome.
for 1 year. Yeah. And I don't know. I think what happened when I went through that trial and tribulation from that elbow surgery is that I really realized, man, it's so important to have like the right people around you.
Yeah.
Like the support is like a thing that I think people are aware of, but don't really understand the significance of the power of right mentorship and right coaching and what it looks like. Most people think it's like very motivational. I don't know if it's like, it wasn't that for me. It just felt like I was like being treated as a human and being listened to,
Mm.
and then taking the coaching and letting them help me through that avenue rather than any other form of coaching that goes around in today's world, which is creating distance from players, creating like the dictator. Like it
Hmm.
didn't work for
Hmm.
me. And I went to Long Beach State. I had a great experience there. The coach there also met me kind of where I was at. I became the Friday guy after a couple of weeks. I just had such a crazy amount of belief in myself that I never had in my life, really. And then ended up getting drafted. And I got drafted by the Colorado Rockies in the ninth round back when there was 40 rounds. And I went into an organization that was the opposite of what I had just come out of, where
Mm.
Mm,
they really, I mean, organizational professional baseball is like it's a business. It's just a
Yeah.
business. And I ended up getting injured in that organization and then going through that process. But I wasn't met the same way I was met with the chiropractor physical therapist who helped me through my first elbow. So kind of like just these ups and downs. And I think when I was at Long Beach State, we had a sports psychologist come and he would talk to us about the mental game and what it looks like to slow the game down, what it looks like to have goals, how do you actually achieve goals, how to have like just body awareness, like what you're actually going through, what you're
Mm.
actually feeling in your body, and how to use tools to get you into your optimal performance mindset. And that was just a concept I was like, oh my gosh, what, yeah, like give me all of the information. I'm kind of behind on all this.
Right.
And I think when my career ended with the Rockies from an injury, I went through a really, really tough time of just trying to figure out who I was without sport. I spent my whole life saying no to everything else other than sport. I said yes to athletics and I said no to, I mean, I took classes and I cared about doing well in school and I did well in school, but I never left going like, man, I love just learning
Right.
about this. Man, I can't wait to just get to practice. I want to like keep working on what I was working on yesterday. So inadvertently, when I lost my career to injury and then went through this whole identity crisis, I started seeing a therapist. I was just not doing good. I was like, man, I don't feel good. I don't know where I'm at in the world, where I can find that passion, that drive that I used to have with sport. And my process through therapy and learning how to regulate my emotions and just like give myself space and be gentle with myself and listen to myself, just listen to what I
Hmm.
was going through was the most amazing experience I had because I was convinced there was no way I was ever going to come. I just didn't think I was ever going to be myself again.
Hmm.
And through therapy and then through that sports psychologist that I worked with, through the mentorship and the support I received through my first elbow injury, I was just kind of starting to connect the dots. Man, I really just enjoy being in the right environment. I really enjoy being supported and loved and cared for in the ways that I want to be loved and cared for.
Hmm. Yeah.
And man, I really found a lot of similarities from when I would feel really good in sport and when I would feel really good outside of sport. I was doing very similar skills
Hmm.
in a way. I mean by that
Hmm.
is when I was pitching at Long Beach State, by no means was I dominating all the time, right? Like there's trials and tribulations. There are times I was in really tough situations that I put myself in, and I would learn how to like take a deep breath and listen to what my thoughts were and catch my thoughts and then learn how to reframe them into what I want to put my focus in. And that's like very translatable skill to just life, right? It's like just okay, I'm thinking this, it's okay to think it, but is it productive? Is it true? Is it what I want my focus to be on right now?
Hmm.
It's different. There's just so many different translations, and I was like, wow, I need to figure out how to be in this. I just need to figure out how to be that for somebody because it meant so much to me. So, I mean, I love baseball. I love the athletic side. I love being passionate, driven. I just love being outdoors. I love working my body, pushing the limits. But I also love the idea of being gentle with myself on the process that it takes to
Hmm.
get where I want to go. And that's a new thing for me.
Hmm.
But through my schooling and getting my bachelor's in sports psychology and then realizing, oh, okay, I'm not going to be a professional baseball player anymore, but I could still help people who care about the same things that I care about. And wow, what a purpose and like a purpose for my life that is. And so I went back and got my master's in sports psychology, and now I work with athletes from all different ages, sports,
Hmm.
yeah, and it's I'm in businesses and helping people who are just trying to be elite performers or elite at whatever they want or how to regulate their emotions and get a result that they want. So I think I gave you a long, long answer on that, and hopefully I answered everything that you asked. But that's a little bit of my story and kind of where I'm at here.
Yeah.
Oh,
That.
that's fantastic. So many questions, so many things that are coming up right now
Sure.
but thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah.
Something that's coming up as you're talking, and I'm just thinking of it as like we are women of color. You are a man, you're a white man. There's I don't mean to genderize sports, but things come up as in differences between men and women. But Joy and I are always curious about what it's like to be a man in sports. And you're saying that you are in touch with your emotions, you were able to cry, you had parents that were supportive of the tears. That is actually not a usual combo to have tears, man, and support. So can you share with us a little bit more about what that was like, especially within the context of sports, which it sounds like when you had emotional support, you did better. You had a community, you had support, you had care, you flourished. And when you didn't, you didn't. So can you walk us through what is that like to be a man who identifies and is able to be in touch with sensitivity, to be in touch with tears in a world of sports, which usually doesn't allow such things?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's a good question because, that's something that's really close to my heart because it was something, like you said, I realized when I was in my early 20s that the emotions that I'm feeling are the things that actually make me a good performer. They make me feel connected to myself. And the more I pushed those away, the more I felt disconnected to who I was. And I think it's as a man in sport, like I said, my parents are former law enforcement, and my dad and I have hashed this out enough, so I think he'd be fine with me saying this on a podcast. But he didn't really understand how to help me when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to cry every single time I struck out, every time I made an error. And I've coached like I have a nephew who's 10, or he just turned 11, and almost every kid on there cries. Like all of them cry. They all have emotions. They all feel the things. They all want to do well. It's somewhere along the line, it gets misconstrued that if you just take the what is quote unquote the emotions that are like crying, if you take them away, then the person's going to be the complete other side of the spectrum. And my dad used to say that he'd go, I just thought if I told you to stop crying, then the other side of you would come out. And the other side is like the one that doesn't have emotions and performs really well. And we had a discussion, and I'd be like, but you took that half away from me. Or not necessarily him, but coaches took that away.
Yeah.
My high school coach just took it away. And there's just like a thing with men to not show emotion, but then we all look up to like the men that do show emotion and that are wildly successful. And I think a lot of it is because they're really connected to themselves, really connected to themselves. I think I shared this with Laura on another call, but I had this experience too because when I went to high school and I went to junior college, those coaches just never met me where I was at. So I felt like I couldn't express those emotions. And I just never felt that great. I just always felt I'm missing something, like something's not going on. But as you get older, maybe the tears that you had when you were 6 or 7, they're not tears anymore, but there's some different emotion. But if you didn't have an area to express the tears and it was okay, then you're left with like, wow, I have unexpressed emotion and I don't know what to do. And I think when I went to Long Beach State, my coach met me where I was at. He saw how frustrated and angry I would get and pissed off and upset, and maybe some tears every once in a while would be there. But it was like, dude, that's part of being an athlete. That's part of being a performer. And as soon as it was okay for those emotions to be there, I would go out on the mound and I'd be talking to myself, whether it was in my head or out loud, and I'd be using motivation in terms of like anger and pissed offness to get myself back there. But a lot of these emotions are just connected to each other, in my opinion. Like sadness and anger kind of go together, frustration, pissed off, like it's just emotions. They're okay. Being okay with them is fine. And when I was connected to them at Long Beach State, I was just having awareness of where I was operating. And when I had awareness of where I was operating, I performed so much better. I knew exactly what I needed to do, how to execute it, because I was just connected to myself. And I got drafted, and I remember I got a call from the scout of the Rockies, and they were on TV, and they were like, all right, in the ninth round, the Rockies select right-handed pitcher Andrew Rohrbach from Long Beach State. My dad starts crying. My mom starts crying. My whole family like just gives me a big hug. And I remember thinking to myself at that moment, you weren't wrong, Andrew. You weren't wrong. And what I meant by that is like the best thing about you is how much you care, is how much you are connected to your emotions. And that is what got you here. Like, don't kid yourself. That's the thing that got you here. And being okay with that is who you are has been a tough process as a man to operate in the world. And even outside of athletics, that was the thing that I felt really disconnected to after athletics. I was panicked that okay, where am I going to be able to show this other side of myself? Because
Yeah.
I had for a couple years at Long Beach State with the Rockies, and now it's gone. And that was the only avenue I really felt like I could express myself in those emotional ways. And I find it here and there, but it's really tough just as a man because it's either pushed down or it's definitely not promoted.
Yeah.
I think either are true.
I also think, Andrew, so I'm looking at it as a coach, but also like working with parents. So, like us as adults, I think a lot of the times when you're in a coaching environment, especially with sports, when it's high performing young athletes, especially in youth sports, right? We forget the child psyche a lot. Me and Laura dissect this constantly, like throughout all our seasons. It's very seldomly with coaches because it's like a detachment where you're working with an athlete, not your child, you know, and it's like my job is to get at one point the result out of you, right? It's not a human being. It's like you said, it's a business, right? My kid doesn't do well on that floor or on that field. It's a reflection on who I am as a coach, and there's so much identity wrapped up into the coach too, right? So you kind of shut off the human aspect of the athlete. And so you're talking about how you had coaches that couldn't foster this humanistic part of who you are. And as humans, we have emotions. Everybody has emotions. It's how we foster those things. And I think as these mentors and coaches in these roles, they tend to forget that a child doesn't know how to regulate their emotions yet at 5 or 6. They don't have the capacity or the maturity to do that. And in all honesty, you don't have the ability to do that until your 20s at times, you know? Like, and it's been a lot of self work for you to have these people that came in to help foster those things. But ultimately, a 6-year-old child to be able to stop crying when they are so full of emotion is near to impossible, you know? And so it's like, stop crying. It's very easy to do that. And I think a lot of times, like as parents, we get lost in that. And it's like, you know, we're trying to, I think the anxiety rises. You have a child on the field who's crying, who's in the middle of a game, who's, you know, you're trying to help the kid to sort of like snap out of it as quick as possible because he's got a bat next or he's got to like, you know, throw a pitch, whatever. And so, I mean, I feel for your dad in a lot of ways, right? Because it's like sometimes you're just trying the best that you can and you don't always have the best answers and there's going to be fumbles and I get that whole thing. But at the end of the day, this child to be able to regulate the emotion is near to impossible. And as adults, there needs to be compassion. There needs to be leeway for all those things and an understanding of that on both ends, the parent and the coach. And so I work with young athletes, and we had a beloved coach that just recently left, and all the kids were heartbroken because it's like this safety net of somebody who they knew was in their corner, who knew that fought for them, was leaving because she had other things with her life that she had to go. I mean, and it was a very honest reason why she departed. She needed to do what was best for her family. And having to hold all those emotions with those kids and to understand, yes, this is sad and heartbreaking and it feels horrible. But at the end of the day, you still have people here that are going to help you. We're still here to support you. And that relationship with that beloved coach doesn't end here. You know, and I think it's like so finite with kids too. Like if I mess up in a game, that means I'm a horrible player, you know, and it's like it's a day, it's a moment in time, but it doesn't define who you are, you know. And like you said, I think that you having these avenues in your life to have those supports to be able to show you again that who you are and your emotions are a big part of your success. And me and
Yeah.
Laura always talk about sports is emotional. It is like you see men get pissed off in the most intense games. And as fans, you know, who watch these players, we get pissed off when there's a mistake. You know, there's so much investment in it. Like that is a big part of athletics. It's
Yeah.
emotional and it's passion and it's all those things. And to embrace that just feels really interesting how it hasn't kind of like stuck. So
Yeah.
I totally feel for everyone in it. And I think that the thing that I have learned being on this side is the gentleness that you talk about, the grace that you give yourself. But I also think there's also this ability that I hope that people can do is say, I mess up.
Yeah.
I'm a human. I mess up. I made a mistake. I'm a parent. I'm trying my best. I made a mistake. I didn't mean to do that to you. Ownership is a hard thing for just the human to admit when we
Mm.
fall short. And I think a lot of healing comes for me as an athlete or me as a coach or me as a parent when somebody says, I'm a human being. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to get back up and own up to my mistakes and apologize, and I'm going to try better. I think that that's the thing that what I'm hoping is going to come out of all of this when we get a little bit more awareness of what we've done in the past that didn't quite work out. So I'm hoping that that's the other side of this.
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents.
No, I think you have a good point too. Like with the idea of sport just being very emotional in general. It's so funny to me that everyone's emotions are completely invested. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. We're not a very good NFL football team, but every Sunday, I act like we should win the game. And if we don't, it bothers my Monday and sometimes it'll run into my Tuesday. And it's just funny to me that
Yeah.
emotions, there's so much involved in this. And then when it comes to an athlete, we're talking about adolescence or even we get very upset that emotions get the best of us sometimes. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean,
Right.
the translation is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I think something that when I try to coach, especially with younger athletes, if they're, like you said, overwhelmed with emotion, the thing that seems to work pretty consistently from like a sports psychology standpoint is like making sense of the emotion for them with them. And what I mean by that is when they're crying, I go, you're crying, are you okay? And they're always like just overwhelmed with it. And I go, I think you're like upset because you care. And is it okay that you care? And they're always
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, it's okay that I care. Okay, no problem. And you'll get them back. You'll get them near next time. And all of a sudden, it takes the power away from it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it okay that they're having the experience that they're having. It's the thing that I think is the number one thing, not only for athletics, but in people, is like recognizing the emotion that you're feeling in the moment, being okay with that. That's the emotion you're feeling. And when you sit alongside the emotion that you're feeling, and it's not maybe driving the car as much, it's maybe in the passenger seat and you're just sitting there with it, all of a sudden you feel more connected, you feel validated on who you are, and then you're able to kind of like work through it. And like you said, at adolescence, it's tough, because they're very overwhelmed with it, but it's okay. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why it's not okay. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
just a natural response. If you weren't upset about it, maybe you don't care about it as much. So
Right.
there's also that side of it. I cared a lot. So I would be overwhelmed with emotion. And the way that it was tried to coach it out of me was just a curious, but like you said, I understand it. Like I totally understand it. But it's kind of like my mission is like I like creating space and partnering with people to like my biggest thing in any of the services I provide is like meeting the person where they're at and being the person that's like, I'm okay with any experience you're having, any,
Mm-hmm.
and it just, and then we can work from there rather than being like, well, you shouldn't be like upset about that. Like, why would you be upset about that? Like, it's not going to be productive to your performance. Like, that doesn't work. That just like devalidates like what their experience is. And I hope more coaches and parents can create more space and just be gentle with the process people are going through. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, that means they have to do that for themselves. And that's to your point, we are at a reckoning in sports. So, like most coaches and parents, we don't know how to do that. That is
Mm-hmm.
not something that any of our parents have been fitted with as I think, I mean, what Freud came in, he was around World War II. So it's not like we've had this throughout our whole lives. Sports for millennia has been based in warfare. So how are we going to think that we're going to suddenly introduce compassion and like get it? So I think we're all a work in progress. And I love that you are, what I really love about your story is how you got to talk with your dad and you had this moment with one another. And what is really impressive to me is what your dad has gone through in order to be available for his child when I can only imagine there was not space for him growing up. And on top of it being in law enforcement. So that's what's really impressive is to have, I mean, that just shows the big heartedness that your dad has for a person not being trained, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's those special people that start paving the way for us and younger generations and just keeps getting better. So that moment allows you to be able to be a little bit more in touch with yourself and to be open. And, now you are opening that for other people. It's funny because as we're talking, I always think about those quotes that I see online, and it's so much geared towards it's like the athlete's responsibility to take care of themselves. And anytime there's some kind of for lack of a better word, instruction or guidance. It's always like, athlete, you have to do this or you have to do that. And it's not that they don't. Of course, it's an auto responsibility, a self responsibility, especially as we get older. But as to your point, it requires a community around you
Mm-hmm.
to be able to provide that space so you can be that way. Because what I'm hearing is that so when you're in Long Beach State, you have this supportive space, and then you go to Colorado Rockies and you still have that mentality. It's not like you didn't walk into Colorado without it suddenly, but something happened while you were there as well for you to end up. I'm granted, I know you had injury as well, but you're also able to recognize because you know what it feels like to be supportive and cared for and to know how to thrive in that. And then you go into a space where you don't have it again. And that's just that kind of awareness that you're bringing to everybody, everywhere, every person you touch. How do you work with younger athletes and their families, for instance, in this?
In this space. I mean, mostly with the younger athletes. I don't know if I necessarily work with parents too much. I think parents inadvertently learn through some of the teachings that I give with the younger athletes. So we'll work on mental skills training, but most often it's making them okay with the emotions that they're feeling. And if I'm working with a baseball player, they obviously relate to me in some way because I'm a baseball player. But if it's some other sport that they're, I'm working with, I just making it okay that, oh man, I had that experience too. Oh, okay. When you fell off the beam there, like it made you really upset. Yeah, I've had that experience. Not the same thing, but like, yeah, I could see how that could be hard. Just really, it's just for me at that age, it's just being okay with the emotions that they're having. And then people are a lot smarter than we give them credit for, especially in this space.
And kids.
If I have to, yeah, kids specifically, like it's amazing. We don't give them enough. We think we have to like really overcoach them. You don't. You actually need to like undercoach them, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I
You just
agree.
create the space for them to have the experience they're having, and then go ask a good open-ended question. Well, what do you want to do with that? And then sit through it. They'll work through it. And if they don't have answers, you can come up with like, oh, okay, well, maybe in that situation, maybe just like taking a deep breath. If you're taking like a deep breath in between before your next rep on that, oh, okay, yeah, that could be good. All right, why don't you just try that? Let's see what happens with it. It's just really just like being in support of whatever the experience they're having. And then I think if parents are there witnessing, because when I work with mental skills with younger athletes, it's either at a gym or somewhere where the parent can kind of watch, but not really partake in it at all. I think they inadvertently learn. And in a weird way, I think they learn more from the session than the kid is even learning, right? Like they
Sure.
learn, like, wow, oh my gosh, I'm just watching my kid operate themselves. And this guy's barely doing anything. He's just asking good questions and then just kind of being very gentle with the experience. And I find that parents learn from that rather than learning from a coach that's like, why would you do that? Like, why did you get on top of that? We've talked about this. You got to hit your cutoff, man. Whatever I don't, sure, fear can be a motivator. Are we learning from it? In a way, maybe, but is it a centered way of is someone going to be able to make the choice for themselves, or are they thinking about someone else's voice in their head when they're playing? I think it's more of that. I've had experiences where it's more that, where I just am afraid to make a mistake, so I'll make the right choice, but it's not the centered way that I would want to perform. Like it's not gonna translate well, if that makes sense.
To that point, when an athlete maybe listening in right now, or someone who's listening in right now is listening to this and they're like, whoa, this is really hitting, but I don't know where to start. And a lot of people don't know where to start. The idea of emotions can be way too hard for people. It's too much. Asking someone, how do you feel, is like, I'm fine. What do you say to people in their first time getting to know themselves and curious? Like, where can they start?
Yeah, I think, gosh, that's a good question. I know it depends on the age group, right? Like that's where my head's going with it. I think if you're in your younger adolescence, I think just being curious of like, I don't know, just validating that the emotions are okay if they want to like learn more about themselves. I'm not sure with like the younger adolescents. For someone who's like in their 15, 16, 17, maybe to early 20s, I'm a big advocate of like journaling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Journaling is a really cool thing. I think at that age, it's pretty productive for them, and just writing down like this is how I feel today, and like is it okay that I feel this way? Journaling is a good avenue. I don't know. The adolescence is that's a tough question. Maybe put the question back on you, Laura. You have any guidance on that? Because that would be something I'd be curious to learn on what you would do.
I'd have them call Andrew.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, obviously, you could find like a sports
Well,
psychology consultant,
so I
someone
guess
who's going
my
to
No, I
be.
was
question
just
to
joking.
you too, Andrew, with that, because I have kids and I know them. I have a relationship with them. I see them every day, right? So it's a little bit easier to kind of be like, oh, this kid's a little bit more sensitive. This kid's probably not. I know a little bit about the dynamics between their parents, at least, because I interact with their parents. Um, So I think I have a little bit more insight on like the background of them. So when an athlete is coming to you or a family is coming to you or even a program's coming to you, I'm sure they give you a little bit of a background of what they need, right? So it's kind of directing you, okay, how can I help this team or how can I help this kid? So when somebody reaches out to you, what are some of their requests for you to help them
Yeah.
out with? I guess maybe that would help a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, sure. Most people are reaching out because they're not performing at the expectations they
Underperformance.
want to. Yeah, just underperformance pretty much. Whether it's they're speaking to themselves in an unproductive way or they're fine in practice, but then they get out to the
Mm.
game and all
Oh
can't
my God,
perform.
that's such a huge one. That's such a huge
Yeah.
one, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a big one. That one's like probably 80% of what I see. And then
Same.
that always relates back to confidence. People are always talking about confidence. My son's just not confident enough, or my daughter's not confident enough. How can you work through the confidence? So those are the three probably main
Yeah.
areas that I'm seeing pretty consistently. And the way I operate with it is like any typical session would be just like first exploring and just getting to know the person. So I just would be asking questions that are, hey, what's like your most favorite memory in sport? And what do you want to work on today? And most
Yeah.
often, I'll say kid, like ages 5 to 12 that I'll work with. Most often, what they are struggling with is different than what the parent is telling me is the problem,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
So true.
And so I have like a voice in my head of what the parent thinks that they need their kid to do, which is very results driven, whereas the kid is really just looking for someone to listen to them and maybe give them like one or two tools and just giving them the grace to fail. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, answering that original question is like, what would I do? I don't know, just give them space and ask them good questions and let them work themselves through the problem if they have a problem. But more, I just like to be like in support of the athlete, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I
I
have
love
a
that.
question, like a practical question for me, because that happens with me too. So how, like, when you have a session and you realize, oh, you guys are just on different pages, like the
Hmm.
parent and the kid.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure there's times where you have to talk to a parent after you work with the session with their kids because they're just curious. And how do you approach the parent with saying, hey, this is what they're struggling with. I know that you said this. This is what they
Hmm.
told me. Like, how do you gently break the news to parents that it's probably not what they think?
Yeah, so I mean the concept of confidentiality obviously comes to
Yep.
like my in the forefront. So I pretty much explain to the parent or the coach or whoever's like initiating the session because most often a young kid is not going to be like, I really
Right.
need to see a sports psychology consultant. They don't even know that that exists, right?
Right.
Oh, I talk with the parents or the coach and just go like, hey, I'm just letting you know I could probably give you some general ideas of what we're working through, but any specific stuff, I draw a line of because I think the kid needs the space for themselves, right? And I'm not going to go and tell everything that the kid is saying to the parent. That's counterproductive and it doesn't actually help the parent even learn too.
Yeah.
So I let the kid know at the beginning of the session, like, hey, like what we talk about here is just you and me. And if there's anything that I'm going to share with mom, dad, coach, whatever it is, I'm going to get your permission first. But yeah, the question that you're asking is the parents are very much initiating it and then they're leaving and going like, hey, what is like
Mm-hmm.
what's on. I kind of keep it as bland as I possibly can. I always validate what the parent is going through. I see what you're seeing and then the results and then here's like a concept we're just gonna like kind of we're working through right now and it's self-talk and I just want to be I'm teaching your son or daughter about self-talk and we'll kind of see what comes up from it and I think they're doing a really good job and this session was really
Yeah.
productive and I'm a big advocate of the confidentiality
Yeah.
aspect of it. I don't want the parent to know every little thing that the kid's going through because I think the parent needs to learn at the same time that their son or daughter is going to be going through their own experience. And part of their job with this is that you hired someone to help.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you need to be involved in everything, but I'm not going to like keep you completely out of the loop. But
Yeah.
that's a fine line.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're working
Mm-hmm.
with minors.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Well, it sounds amazing, Andrew. You're creating space for athletes in ways that you were given space as a young person as well. But also, you're modeling what it looks like to give space to a small human being and be respectful for their need to work things out on their own. And in that, we develop resiliency, we develop critical thinking, we develop connection with reality and acceptance. But I really appreciate that, because I feel like we need more of that, just gentleness and kindness for parents, for guardians, for coaches, because they too, again, they don't know what it means to do that on their own necessarily, unless they've done their own work. So I think everybody's winning and everyone's learning right now. And I'm just really grateful that there's people like Andrew out in the world, because we're going to need it. There's more than enough. I think because sports is in this space where we're like, mental health is actually a thing, and we're going to treat mental health like we treat physical health. And there are people who are all on board with that. And then there's folks that are like, it's woo-woo and it's ridiculous. And why are we even talking about it? And, grow a pair and just deal with it.
You make a good point. I mean, it's an interesting spot we're in right now with mental health and how it correlates to athletic performance. And I'm just so grateful, one, that I've gotten into the field at the time that I have, because I could see the challenges 10, 15, 20 years ago of just even walking around and going like, I can help you with your mental game. Because like you said, back then it was, I just grow a pair, you either have it or you don't, was a big phrase that was said. You either have the mental makeup or you don't have the mental makeup. No one understands that it's trainable. It's a skill.
Yeah.
Like mental skills are a skill, and it's trainable and it's adaptable. And from my story, I would have never been a professional athlete if I didn't see that sports psychologist. It just wouldn't have. And if I wouldn't have been in the right environment of mentors just showing by action rather than trying to teach me what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. They created space and they led by action. And the sports psychologist gave me like actual tools, things that I could use in the game, and they translate into my every single day life all the time. I use them consistently, and it's the thing that's like really made me feel centered in my life, because I like to think of myself as like a high performer, whether I'm an athlete or sports psychology consultant. I think a lot of what we all want in life is to achieve the dreams that we want. We only have a lot amount of time on this earth, and not getting too philosophical, but I do think it's translatable. And these skills are not only for athletes, but they're for performers and anybody that just wants more out of their life. I think mental health and seeing a licensed therapist is like one of the best things that's ever happened to me. For me to not work from a clinical standpoint, but more from like a performance standpoint, is really aligned with who I am as a person. And I think I translate skills and make sure that the line is clearly drawn between clinical and athletic performance. But there are a lot of similar skills, and a lot of people would really benefit from, working with someone that can help them achieve what they want. And I think that's the biggest thing that I love about my job, is the ability to just be there with people, hold space, and watch them grow, and then be the person that can just be a mirror to like possibly what they're going through, and not try to solve their problems, but guide them in the right direction. I know I've had that experience with my therapist where she doesn't help me with anything, and then I go, "You're helping me with everything." That's the concept. So it's a fun thing, and I just look forward to working with more and more athletes, different style of people, and wherever they're at in the world, I would love to help them. I think I can pull a lot from my experience, and people like you guys as well, just being there to like have these conversations. So that's awesome.
I love that. That needs to be a quote. She's not helping me with anything, which means she's helping me with everything.
Yeah, I love that too.
Shout out to all the therapists out there.
Yeah.
And I really love that.
Well, I also want to say one more thing, Andrew. Hold on, because it's a little piece of your story that we're hearing, but you are still like, it's kind of interesting. Me and Laura talk about this all the time. Is like the heart of the athlete never goes away. So how you approach everything, it's like these tools that you learn as a little boy, it's just refined. But it's like you still have the language and the way that you speak about performance and how it's really cool, because you can see the athlete mentality in your story from the beginning all the way to where you are today. And we always talk about life lessons that you learn with your sport. And I love this part of seeing athletes being able to translate something that they were passionate about, and that it still continues. It doesn't end there. And so you see the expansion of just your career and how you can use those little league moments into who you are as a sports psychologist. So it's almost like full circle, and to see that process of your healing too. So thank you for sharing your story, because that's powerful.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Andrew, how can people get in touch with you if they want to work with you? Because I know for a fact there's going to be people who are listening in that are like, I want an Andrew in my life. How do we find Andrew?
Yeah, sure. So I'm creating a website right now, so I wish I had it done, unfortunately. But you could just email me. You can also find me on my socials. So it's just my first name and last name. So Andrew Rohrbach, Rohrbach. And then if you want to email me, it would be Andrew at motivementalperformance.com. So two ways, whether it's social or email. If you're able to get in contact with me, hopefully at that time I have my website done and I can give you that in a little bit. Yeah.
We'll put everything in the show notes for sure, and then we will update them when your website's up and running for
Yeah,
sure.
you can also contact me at my phone number and my social security number as well.
True.
That's
Just
funny.
any form of contact. This is my residence as well. If I have.
That's right. Oh my God, that reminds me of what when it was at Shohei, the Ohtani's, like when his house went up and then everybody was showing up to his house. Did you hear about that, Joy? That was
Yeah.
wild. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Anyway,
I'd show up to his
um,
house. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, me too. I would.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, new friend.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for being with us today. We're so appreciative to you and everything that you're doing for the sports community and for just the human community. Honestly, you're doing less work of athletes and really building great humans. And that's what we want. We want people to know that they're human first, athlete second. You're part of that. We just appreciate you so much. So, so much. Before we end, we do a little thing called the lightning discuss round. And it's just a quick question. Everybody answers and then we close out. Would you like to play?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Okay.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for having me on here. It's always an honor to tell my story. It's a vulnerable story for me. So I just want to thank you for creating the platform for me to do so.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing,
Yeah.
honestly.
All right,
So
what's
with that,
this question?
the discuss question is favorite ballpark treat. Discuss.
Favorite ballpark treat to
Mm-hmm.
discuss?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
When you go to see a baseball game,
Mhm.
what do you order?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh no. There's so many different things falling through the Rolodex for me. I mean, so I grew up I'm a Yankees fan. Been
Ugh.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Hey,
You're allowed
Laura,
to be a Yankees fan.
Laura, I feel like don't you live in New York?
I'm a Dodgers fan through and through, and I'm married
Oh
to a
my
Red
God.
Sox man. So
Um,
that is just
No,
sad.
no,
I'm just kidding. I'm
you're
just
allowed
kidding.
to like
I'm
the
just kidding.
Yankees. Our
Well,
face just
as
showed.
we speak, we're going to a Mets game on Sunday. So my kids,
okay.
we're just kind of anyway.
All
Yeah.
Sorry,
good.
we couldn't help.
It's
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always
yeah.
say this like, it's I mean,
Wait,
wait.
wait.
Yeah.
How did you become a
Yeah,
Yankees
I'm
fan?
more
Yeah.
Simi
curious about
Valley?
that.
Yeah. We
What
should ask this.
in God's green earth makes you a Yankees fan when you're like a stone's throw to Dodger Stadium? How dare you?
I know. I know. So I have a lot of family in Pennsylvania, and my great uncle was a diehard Yankee fan. And when I was
Okay,
12 I know I'm gonna give you like the sob story to make you feel bad
there we
for
go.
All
it.
good. Let's hear it. We're allowed
But
to.
Let's do it.
We'll
but
eat
when
our
he
words.
Hmm.
yeah when he passed away,
Oh,
my
shit.
yeah he passed away. My grandma was like, "Would you like to hold on, carry the tradition?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And at that time, I was a Padres fan because I was on the Padres in my little league.
Okay.
So
Mm,
I
mm.
transitioned to a Yankees fan, and it's been the best decision ever since. We win a
Mhm.
lot, not recently, unfortunately, but winning's great. That's the only thing that matters in life. Just kidding. But that's how I'm a Yankees fan. So, I don't dislike the Dodgers. As you know, the last couple of years they've been fun to watch. So where I was going with that is the Yankees. I've only been a couple times. I think Yankee Stadium has a lot more concessions than Dodger Stadium, but grew up going to Dodger games. The infamous Dodger dog is obviously like a number one thing you have to go to. I'm not a big nachos fan, but peanuts. Just a Dodger dog
Oh.
and
Was
peanuts.
shell on or shell off?
With shell, because
Mhm.
it's so I don't know why they do this, but you could just toss the shell on the
All
ground.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
think it's
don't.
also an anxiety thing. Like when you're nervous and you have a lot of
Have something
energy
to
that goes
do.
through your fingertips,
Right.
and you have fidget spinner. That's why you create fidget spinners. But I think that's why we move our hands around. So it makes sense because if there's anything that's anxiety producing is
Mm.
watching a baseball game.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So I get those two as like my main meal, and then get a big water, and then I just wait for like the person who comes around with like the big thing of cotton candy, and then throw money at that person to get cotton candy. Yeah. So those are probably like the top three things that I go for.
Yeah.
Do you guys
Nice.
have answers for it?
How about
Yeah,
you,
we play
Joy?
too. So yeah, grew up Dodgers fan. So again, the Dodger dog, I feel like anytime I go to a baseball game, I have to get a Dodger dog. But I will say this. So my girlfriend, she will get these awesome tickets in the Lexus lounge. And so they have a full meal. They have like roast beef, all this stuff. And I will say the meal's okay. It's like fine dining and it's probably mediocre food for, that at best. But I prefer the Dodger dog usually over the roast beef and all the goodies. So I will always get a Dodger dog. I do like nachos, so that sometimes I'll get that. But the Dodgers have really amazing garlic fries, and I
Oh,
feel like that
That's right.
now that's my new go-to when I go to a game is their garlic fries, and then I'll get like a drink. My husband usually will get like a hard seltzer, and we'll just kind of like hang out and watch the game. And I usually will try to top it off with a churro at the
Good
end.
idea.
Yeah. So that's
the
probably
only
my
reason I
go-to.
don't do the Dodger, that's the only reason I don't do the Dodger churro is because Disneyland is right down the street and
And
Disneyland
it's
has the
better.
best churros.
I
Like,
They really do.
You're right. You're actually absolutely right. Because the last time I had a churro, I was like, this is stale and it
Mm.
sucks. And then whenever I go to Disneyland, I have to get a churro there, no matter
yeah,
what.
they do it different there, so I can't get
Yeah,
a churro anywhere
I'm
else.
with you. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, Laura, your turn.
Oh, I'm definitely a Dodger dog for sure. And I have to tell you, it's a commentary about Yankee Stadium. It's the last thing I'll say about the Yankees. I do actually miss the old Yankee Stadium, the one that Ruth built. I really like that one. The one they have now, my husband describes it as a hospital in a bank or a bank in a hospital. It's like
Mm.
very sterile feeling. And I really still wish that David Ortiz never shared that he put his jersey into the foundation because I really wish that was just it there. I'm done. I'm done. Um, okay, so Dodger dog for sure. The first time I went to a Red Sox game, I have to give it up to Fenway. They have really good food.
Mm.
And the first time I went to see a Red Sox game, I pretty much highly impressed my husband. Right? I think at that time we were just dating, but I think I had like clam chowder, hot dog, nachos, ice cream.
Wow. Holy
Cracker Jack.
smokes.
Cracker Jack always tastes best at any ballpark
At a game.
anywhere
Yeah,
in the
that's
world.
true. Yeah.
I know, I just love the experience of being outdoors and you're getting to just chat and watch
Yeah.
baseball. And it's what a beautiful game. I really
Yeah.
love baseball.
It's my favorite sport
In
to
all its
watch
glory.
live, hands down,
Yeah.
is baseball. I don't think
Yeah.
any other sport beats that. I think
Yeah.
that it's just the best sport to watch live.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and they really enjoyed watching basketball live. And I don't
Oh,
dislike watching
yeah.
basketball live. I don't like that they play music while they're playing the game.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree with
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for
Confusing to
that.
me. Yeah, it's confusing. I
You know
Yeah.
what
just,
I miss? I miss hearing the squeak. Like you
Of the
don't hear the
chairs and
shoe
the
squeak.
shoes. Yeah.
We go to see Nets games. You did hear it during the Liberty games. You love going Liberty games. I do like going to the Nets games, but you can't hear their shoe squeak because they're just constantly playing stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, I absolutely agree. Baseball, you
I-
can just talk. I
yeah,
like that you get to like hang out with your people and
Yeah.
actually talk to each other.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm also old and I can't handle it when I can't hear anything anymore, which is everywhere. So you just, can't see, everything is dark and you can't hear anything. Anyway,
Well, thank you so much, Andrew. We hope you have a great week. Thank you for being our guest.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week as well.
All
too.
right.
Be well. Thank you all.
All right.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, please reach out to us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok.
Share and follow us on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. Help us out and leave a 5-star review. Thanks.